I was already in prison. How can they apply that to me?
Did you know that a $100 crime could cost you 50 years in prison, even if you didn't harm anyone? This is all due to an unjust, outdated law that Congress has the power to change. Imagine having an uncle named Lester. Uncle Lester's down on his luck. He's in desperate need of a few dollars. He walks into a gas station, pulls out a knife, and takes $182 out of the cash register. No one gets hurt in the process. Money was only being taken. The police find Uncle Lester and arrest him, and they charge him with first-degree robbery. Uncle Lester calls home, acting like he does some commentary, and he tells you that he's sorry for letting you down. Next, he tells you that he'll be home soon. You think to yourself, well, his crime was petty, so he shouldn't deserve to serve that much time, right? Well, then Uncle Lester gets delivered to prison, and he learns that he has to serve 53 years before he's eligible for parole. Lester Stone is a real individual, and these are his real circumstances.
Lester was arrested on February 6, 1990. The Missouri Parole Board won't even consider releasing him on parole until 2043. Lester Stone is just one of many people suffering from the injustices caused by an outdated statute that our lawmakers have the power to change. Consider Albert Turner. In 1994, Albert robbed a clerk at a hotel. He took $240 from the hotel clerk, but no one was injured. He simply took the money and walked out the door. Now, he's been in prison for 30 years.
My name is Albert Turner. I'm 69. I ain't hurt nobody in this. I'm on positive mode. I'm in the Honor Center, a privileged unit for the last 5 years. I've been violation-free and I've released over 5 years, and therefore I feel I'm on the right track, keep my head up, and by my age, I understand, it makes me feel like I got more mature than what I was when I first came in at the age of 40.
Missouri lawmakers, one thing about the law relating to consecutive sentences, what would you tell them?
Well, that needs to be changed, you understand, in regards to as it was before. When a robbery was a robbery, armed robbery, you understand, it was one case. Now that guy, you understand, on armed robbery, you charged with armed criminal act. I got 30 years for the armed criminal act. I don't have no drug violation. I don't have no weapon violation. I don't have anything, man. I don't surround myself around that type of environment. I should have been out of prison a long time ago, man. I'm still sitting up in here. I don't know. They want me to give them 50 years before they see me on this life sentence. Man, I'd be 97 years old if I lived that long. In 2018, I filed a clemency asking the governor to run the 30 years in with the life sentence, reduce my sentence to 66%, and give me a reasonable parole date, which right now is 2042. Well, when this police officer in Kansas City killed this black guy, and they talk about him on a clemency, well, I wrote Gene Peters Baker, even though that's not my jurisdiction, and I wrote a couple of state representatives. Well, as a result, the governor wrote back after 5 years talking about denied. Well, then they're going to tell me I can file again 5 more years later. Man, I'm not thinking about that, man. 5 years, I might not even be around. Look like I got a death sentence, you know what I'm saying? Even though they got a life sentence on my face sheet, but man, in essence, I got like a death sentence in regard to consecutive sentence. Then you got somebody else filing, trying to get the regular life sentence retroactive to be 30 years. If they ruin this guy's favor, then that'll apply to me, and I'm out of here. That means they'll give me a date, and they'll probably give me a date and let me out as soon as possible. I've been here too long, man, too long. You got guys, you know what I'm saying, got rapes, murders. They done been out, back in, out, back in. I got a robbery. I ain't hurt nobody. These new laws they coming up with is for these new offenders that's coming in. They're not thinking about the retroactive law in regards to the old timers, man. They're not looking at us. The law that's designed for the old timers, man, is meant for us to stay in here. I appreciate the time you spent with me, man, and the interview is well appreciated. And I just hope something great turns out, you know. I'm trying to keep the hope alive, man.
In Missouri, if a person is charged with second-degree murder and sentenced to life, they are eligible for parole after serving 25 years. But Albert has been incarcerated for 30 years for a robbery where no one was even hurt. He's currently 69 years old, but the parole board won't even consider Albert for release until 2042.
A $240 robbery is costing him 48 years in prison. This is clearly an injustice. This injustice is due to an outdated Missouri statute that needs to be amended by Congress. And the statute applies to every single crime under the penal code from shoplifting to murder. Will you help to change it? The most simple thing you can do to help is simply share this video with as many people as possible. Sharing this video will help raise awareness to one of the many injustices plaguing our prison system. Also, make sure you subscribe to this channel to be alerted with future updates relating to this issue. The Missouri statute in question is section 217.690, subsection 5. The statute needs to be amended immediately. The most relevant portion of subsection 5 reads, when considering parole for an offender with consecutive sentences, the minimum term for parole eligibility shall not exceed the minimum term for parole eligibility for an ordinary life sentence. Now you may be thinking, what the heck does that mean? Well, as it stands, the statute is ambiguous and outdated. And ambiguity is allowing the Missouri Department of Corrections to apply it unjustly. For a better understanding of how this works, consider this. Let's say a person was sentenced to 10-year sentences for a string of car thefts, and each of those sentences were ordered to run consecutively to one another. The car thief would have a total sentence of 100 years. If the car thief had been in prison on one prior occasion, he would have to serve 40% of each individual sentence. That means his minimum term for each sentence is 4 years. Subsection 5 instructs the parole board to calculate the minimum term on each individual sentence, in this case, 4 years. Then the board adds all of those minimum sentences together. The total of that calculation equals the car thief's overall minimum parole eligibility date. In this scenario, 40 years becomes the minimum amount of time that the car thief must serve before he is considered for parole. 100 years is the maximum term. 40 years is equal to a death sentence for a lot of people. Although the imaginary car thief was just an example for showing easy mathematics, Lester and Albert are real people with real sentences upwards of 40 years or more. 40 years can be considered a life without parole sentence for many.
And life without parole was reserved for only the most egregious type of murder in the Penal Code, first-degree murder.
What subsection 5 needs to say is, when considering parole for an offender with consecutive sentences, the aggregate minimum term for parole eligibility shall not exceed 25 years. In Missouri, a person convicted of second-degree murder who received a parolable life sentence is eligible to be released after serving 25 years. Who was not convicted of first-degree murder and who does not have a sentence of life without parole should at least become eligible for parole after serving 25 years. Remember, parole is discretionary. A person must show sufficient rehabilitation and sufficient readiness to re-enter society before being released on parole.
We are asking the lawmakers to fix the injustice in subsection 5 by at least allowing parole consideration after a person has served a precise number of years. We suggest a maximum of 25 years. This amendment will ensure that anyone who is not sentenced to life without parole will at least have a chance to be considered for parole.
Last but not least, meet Cornell Williams. Cornell is another inmate facing the injustice associated with consecutive sentences.
Cornell is a model inmate with an excellent rehabilitation and conduct record. He has been in prison since 2001, but he is not eligible for parole until 2036. Cornell has continuously worked some of the best jobs in the prison for nearly 20 years.
My name is Cornell Williams. I'm 43 years old. I had been fighting my case from the jump, you know what I'm saying? And so when I exhausted all my remedies with that, I'm still thinking like, man, you know, I started using all the available resources I could to still, you know, fight for my release. I'm saying addressed it to the parole officer, and, you know, his understanding was I was at another roadblock. You know what I'm saying? And my only other option was to go directly to the people that can fix it, which is the courts.
He has become a faithful member of the Crossroads Church program, which now has the biggest prison congregation in Missouri. The congregation has gotten so big that the Crossroads administration helped to accommodate the growth by moving the service to the gymnasium, and Cornell has attended faithfully. He has shown sufficient rehabilitation and could be a positive contributor to society.
The hardship, you know what I'm saying, of course, it's just like being out there, man. Y'all got y'all day-to-day struggles, you know what I'm saying, just with the everyday routines of life and things like that. Of course, it's on a smaller scale in here, but it still can affect you, you know what I'm saying, depending on how and what you're doing with your time and things like that. But for me, man, you know, at the same time, those same losses as far as, you know, my family members and not being able to capitalize on these different opportunities that, you know what I'm saying, might arise. It's a hardship, but at the same time, I take it and let it be motivation to, you know, continue to push and, you know, knock this time out and fight for my freedom. You know what I mean?
What is it that it takes to keep going and stop you from losing hope in there?
For me, man, my faith. I'm a very spiritual person, and I walk by faith and not by sight. So, that right there, man, is one of the biggest things outside of my family. You know what I'm saying? My loved ones. You know what I'm saying? That keeps me going. You know what I mean? When I get discouraged because a court denies a motion, or like in this case with this declaratory judgment, it's been getting continued for over a year now. That's another year that I done lost, man. You know what I'm saying? That I can be out there, you know what I'm saying, spending time with the family and, giving back to my community, you know what I'm saying, different things like that. That support system is big, man. A lot of guys in here don't have it.
If Congress were to offer a solution by amending the outdated statute, Cornell could at least be considered for a parole hearing immediately.
That's why I kind of had to get on the front line, not just for me, but for the guys that don't have the resources and the wherewithal to, know that they got time that they doing that they shouldn't have to do because they might not be educated, or, they might be involved in other things where they mind ain't really on that. This will still help get those guys they rightful due.
Cornell recently filed a petition in the Cole County Circuit Court seeking judicial clarification for the outdated statute. But Cornell's petition was denied in January 2024.
If you could tell the Missouri lawmakers one thing about the law relating to consecutive sentences, what would you tell them?
Correct it. Correct it. They are the ones that wrote it as ambiguous and vague as it is, and maybe they don't know how it's being applied because it wasn't their intention, but now that it's being brought to the forefront to the light, man, correct it. You know what I'm saying? So that this doesn't continue to affect, so many people's lives.
We truly need legislative intervention. We need Congress to enact an amendment to the statute to cure the injustices these prisoners are facing. What can you do to help?
The easiest thing you can do is share this video to raise awareness to the injustice that is occurring in the Missouri prison system. But if you are fully invested and if this issue affects someone you know personally, you can reach out to Missouri senators and state representatives to voice your concern and support for this change in law.
Together, we stand. Divided, we fall. Let's come together and stand for a good cause that will help more good men get home to their families sooner. Thank you for watching this video. Please share and subscribe to this channel to be alerted with future updates related to this issue.